Bugsy Benjamin back at it again. What's good, YouTube? How you guys doing out there today? It's been a long day for me, long evening. Uh, Work's going crazy. Apparently, the January, February time is supposed to be down season, slow season for business, in the GTA in Toronto. But it's just busy as shit at work. It's crazy. But today, I want to talk about fatherhood and the benefits and the feelings I've got about fatherhood, feelings of fatherhood, and what it means to me about being a father. I'm a son, obviously, and I'm a father to a son. You know, I didn't choose to become a father. I became a father essentially against my will. But being a father has been transformational for me and for my life. And it has, changed the way I see life, the way I've thought about time, the way I think about people. What is that? Being a father it's an immense privilege if you're honored to become such. If a woman has given the man the honor to be a father to a daughter or to a son, it's one of the most highest blessings a man can get. Especially when your child is young, from the critical ages 0 to 6, and being a part of your child's life for the first 6 years of your son or daughter's life is key. And those 6 years you spend with your child from birth to grade 1, to the first grade, they will change you as a person. They will transform you, and in theory will make you become a better person. And the same token that I feel blessed to be a father, it's still a very scary, a fearful experience. It builds my trust, it builds my faith, and knowing that he's good, he knows to take care of himself, his mother takes care of him, and God has God's taking care of them. Sadly, obviously, I'm not with my son's mother. They're still living in Montreal. As you guys know, I've lived in Montreal for almost 5 years, 4.5 years. And I moved back to Toronto about a year and just over a year ago. Far from my son, about 5 hours drive. So, that distance, it's difficult on me. And, I sit with myself every day. I think about it every day. If I could provide the same standard of living for my son in Quebec and Montreal that I could here in Toronto and working in the insurance industry, I'd be there with my son. But unfortunately, I don't speak French. I'm not francophone. My glass ceiling, as one would say, is quite low, being what they would call an anglophone. I mean, obviously I could have pivoted, there could have been other jobs that I could have, pivoted, changed to, could have sold, what do you call the square machines, the POS systems that they have at retail stores, could have done sales for that. That's a kind of a, big anglophone industry in the West Island in Montreal. I don't know, I could have pivoted and fixed cars, sell cars at a dealership. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I still needed to speak French. I still needed to have that francophone. I still needed to be fluent in reading and writing and communicating in French. And I'm not up to. Some people might, my family thinks that I'm pretty strong in French. I can say a couple sentences and a few phrases in French, but I'm not. I can't converse. I can't carry a conversation in French. And obviously, I don't have the French francophone accent. So, it made it difficult for me. Do I stay in Quebec? Do I stay in Montreal and, kind of suffer financially but then get that extra time. And even then, I was still not getting most of that time with my son. I was still 50-50, even still being there, in the same building with my son, literally in the same building with my son. I was only seeing him half the time, half the week. It was a difficult situation, but at the end of the day, I take ownership of that, since I was the one that decided to move to Montreal from a previous insurance job that I had, a long-term insurance job. Actually, the first job that I started with insurance. I had decided to move out to Montreal to kind of lower my cost of living for, expenses and, daycare, rent, 9 yards, and just a change of scenery as well. That was a big change for me. Change of scenery, different culture, different environment. Different language, so different culture. But yeah, so the distance is tough on me, but at the end of the day, I do get to, I still get to see my son. He's here pretty much every spring break. He's here for the whole summer. He's here for long weekends. He's there Christmas. He's there for the 2.5 weeks for Christmas. So I get to see him throughout the year. It's just the times where I'm not with him, it's difficult on me, and I want to see him every day. I just want to squeeze him sometimes, but yeah, my little PJ. But some things, I have to own the decisions. I have to own the repercussions of the decisions that I make. I have to live with the consequences of the decisions I make. I won't get to spend as much time with him, but the time that I do get to spend with PJ, the time that I do get to spend with my son, is precious. Playing video games, playing PlayStation, playing Xbox. We travel all over the place. I've taken him all over the island and all over the city of Montreal. We've been everywhere: the Science Center, the Biodome. Taking him all over downtown, all over on the Metro, REM, up and down the place. We've been to Ottawa. I've taken him all over Toronto. We've taken him to CN Tower, Aquarium, you name it, he's been there. So, not that I don't get to spend much time, it's just I wish I could spend more time. It's probably just the selfishness coming out of me. But yeah, I love that I got to experience being a father to a son. So it helps me kind of understand a bit better the decisions that my father made when I was a young child, when I was 3, 4, and 5, and 6. And it's, me thinking about my dad and the decisions that he made and how that's impacted my life. I'm thinking about the decisions that I'm making and how it's impacting my son's life. And, I don't, obviously, I don't want to make the same mistakes that my father made, or that, but really, that's really truly honest. I don't want to make the same mistakes. There's things that my father did well. So there's things that I want to take. There's things, there's always nuggets and tidbits of something in someone's personality that you can take and apply and, own for yourself and groom for yourself. No one's all bad. Everyone's a mixture of bad and good, and to different extents. But, I've been thinking about that, like the impacts of my decisions that I make today, how they'll impact him, and, and into the future as well. When he's older, when he's 9, 10, 12, 16, then he's driving, and then 18, and, I can't even think about being a father to, a 25-year-old or, a young man. It's going to be, I'm going to be an old man at that point. But it's just crazy to think that, that's coming in the future for me. And I got to think ahead of time, and I got to plan for that. That's a part of that, forward thinking, that foresight, knowing that you have events to come that you anticipate to come. So you think about that and you prepare today for what's to come, so that you have no excuses. If you know what's to come, and then by the time something comes and you're not prepared, you have no excuses, because you had ample time, you had ample opportunity to fix yourself. So, yeah, I love every aspect, and these 6 7 years that I've had being a father, I've had I know how to cook, bake. I know how to, what else do I know how to do? I don't want to do anything, I do anything around the house. I can fix a couple things here, a couple plumbing things. I still don't know how to do electrical, but I can fix a couple drywall. I can paint. Um, you know, you name it, I could do it. Any small little thing around the house or around the car, in and around the car. Um, since being a father, I've been very honest. I've been, the last 6 years, I don't think I've told a lie, like a meaningful, a conscious, honest lie in the last 6 years, last 6 7 years. So, that's another thing. Being a father has made me just 120% upfront and honest, and just, I'm an open book. I keep saying, I'm an open book. Ask me anything and I'll give you an answer. Whether you like it or not, I'm going to give you an answer. So, that's another aspect about being a father. I'm a lot more protective of him and protective of myself and who I keep, the company that I keep you around, and the decisions and the actions that I make. I'm a lot more conscientious of the things that I do, and, you know, the outcomes of my decisions. So it's a big aspect, and it's kind of matured me as a young man myself. Like, I don't like to think that I'm the most mature person sometimes, but I do have some mature aspects of my personality. I do like to think that I have an old soul, and part of that is due to being a father and having to play that role in raising another human being, raising another man up to be a productive member of society. So, isn't that the goal for us all? Is for us to become productive members and to raise more productive members, and that's, I guess, how society and nation states grow. Um, what else should I say? Yeah, like for those of you men that get the opportunity to become a father, don't squander it. Cherish it. Uh, Embrace your child, no matter what flaws you may think your child has. No matter no matter what. If you create children, if you take or you assume the responsibility of being responsible for and raising a child, take that seriously. You know, don't be inconsistent. Do what you say. Let your actions follow your words. Let your actions follow your words. Or, sorry, let your actions take lead before your words. Your words should just back up the actions that have already been on display. So, you know, I love the fact that I've gotten to be a father. Would I want to be a father again or repeat the process from scratch again? I don't know. Probably I'm thinking no. Especially, then dealing with another girlfriend, and then that's it's another whole story of its own. Women bring their own problems to life. Thank God I never got married, and I didn't get ruined that way, and I was able to keep my pension wealth, whatever pension wealth that I have, that I've accumulated throughout my working years. I'm still broke otherwise from being a father, ironically. Um, that's why I'm hard at work, both in my work life and my outside work life. It really is. Every day is just work. I don't really have no distinguish between work. Work doesn't even feel like work. When I go to the office, I'm just working. And when I get off of work, I'm still working. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to put YouTube videos up. I'm going to read. I'm going to study new topics and research. So I'm pretty much always working. So there's no differentiation. And even the days of the week, like, my insurance job is Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And then outside of that, during the weekday I'm working. Saturday I'm waking up at 6:30, washing dishes or making breakfast, cleaning up the place, vacuuming, cleaning the bathroom. Like, there's always work to be done. There's always new work to be done. So, work never ends. Improvements never end. Life is steady improving. Daily, like I say, daily compounding wins. Small, minute micro decisions and compounding wins. I'm I'm really embracing that philosophy of compounding. I'm trying to instill that into the values that I want my son to assume. One of the core values that I want my son to assume is the value of recognizing opportunity and the value of making the right micro decisions and compounding those. And making, it's not about knowledge. We all have the right knowledge. We all know right from wrong. We all know the right things to do. We all know the 10 rules of the Bible. We all follow some type of religion or we have some type of spiritual philosophy, whether we want to admit it or not. Even atheist people have some type of spiritual philosophy, especially, if they're in a life or death situation, if they're diving towards the earth in a plane crash. Atheists will turn into religious people. So, we all have the know-how. It's just about actively actions. It's about making the right decisions and doing the right things that you should be doing for yourself, for your health, for your body, for your family, for your relationships, for your continue on to say over and over and over and over and over again. But as your son sees those characteristics of you, and not just one display or two display, just he sees that throughout multiple interactions, throughout multiple seasons, throughout years. As your son gets older and he starts to understand you better as a person, as an individual, he gets to impute those values. You get to impute those values into him, and he assumes those values. And those are one of the key values that I love, that I get to embrace and I get to impute on another human being. I get to have that influence on another human being. I get to have that influence on the world. So when I'm dead and gone, I'm passing under the grave, then a part of me is still up here living. And even with these YouTube videos, if I'm on the internet is forever, like people say. These videos are gonna live forever. So it's not that I know I have physically in finite form, a finite amount of time. I've been here for now 34 and a bit years. I'm gonna be 35 just now, and I could only have 36 years, or I could have 34 and 8 months. I have no idea. We all have no idea when our time is, so we need to embrace and enjoy and plan for the time in life ahead to make sure that tomorrow is a better day. We do what's difficult today so that tomorrow is a better day. And then we build up on those wins. We build up on wins, stack on days, stack on daily wins. And those daily wins becomes progress. Activities become momentum. Momentum becomes progress, and progress becomes wins. Becomes the outcomes you desire. So, yeah, fatherhood transformational. I'm lucky and blessed. And to the ladies out there that are thinking about signing up for number 2, I don't know, not yet. I don't think so, and I don't know if that's gonna change. So, yeah. Anyways, that's just an honest take. Take this for what you will. Bugsy Benjamin's back again with another video. Just wanted to just share some of my thoughts and feelings around parenthood in general, from a male's point of view, from a man's point of view. All right, peace, y'all.